Hi, welcome to Practical 11. So, in this Practical 11, we will focus on relationship, right? Another type of relationship that is called inheritance. So, let's look at the task one create classes based on the following requirements. Okay, so you have person, student, employee, faculty, and staff classes. So, design a class named person and its two subclasses named student and employee. Make faculty and staff subclasses of employee, right? And then we have a person has, so this is actually is giving information about the state of a person class. So a person, right, person class, right, will have all this information: name, address, phone number, and email address. All right, and then we're talking about what are the information that we need to store for a student. Has the class status. Okay, then we have a constant here: 1, 2, 3, and 4. Create enum to handle status. An employee has an office. Employee class, we need to have all these attributes. And then for date hired, right, we need to create a separate class, my date, which will store three things, right? Year, month, and day, and all of them actually integer. To create an object for date hired. So the next is faculty. Member has office hours and rank. And then for the staff class has a title. All right. So override the toString method in each class to display the class name, and then person's name. All right. So write a test program that creates a person, student, employee, faculty, and staff, and invokes the toString methods. Okay. So let's get into this. So we already done this, right? So I'm going to actually explain the codes, right, for the task one. So this is the thing that you all did in the practical class. Okay, so first of all, we need to create all these classes: person, student, employee, faculty, and staff. So let's look at the person. Okay, person, right, we have some attributes: string, name, address, phone number, email. So this information, right, we can actually get it from here: name, address, phone number, and email address. And they actually made as protected, okay, because this variables, right, okay, can be passed down to the child. So this is like a parent, okay, and this variables, right, can be passed down to the child, right? So that is why we make it protected. We can also make it private, but will not be that useful, right? So we put protected so that the child can access directly, right, all these variables. And then we have, as usual, right, this is entity class. We have a getters and setters for each instance variable. Okay, and then we have a person default constructor, then you have a parameterized constructor. Okay, and then you have a toString. Okay, and next will be um, subclasses: student and employee, right? So we go to the student, extends person, right? So this is actually will create inheritance relationship. Extends person, so this is the parent and this is the child. And what information that should be in the student? You have only this one: status, right? Status. Okay, so private integer status, right? So technically, right, the student has 5 attributes, right? This one plus the person, right? Person got 4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so the student has 5 attributes. And over here, right, this is the default constructor. So we need to have the super, right? Super means calling the immediate parent, right? So which means that we need to initialize, we need to create the person object first, we need to create parent first. All right, so when you do this super, right, so it will call the constructor of the I will say that person, right, which is this, right? We'll call this, where's the constructor, this one, we'll call this, right, person, right? And then this is a parameterize. Okay, so when you have super, and this will call this parameterize constructor for the person. Okay, and then followed by status. All right, initialize this. So it looks like we need to put the super at the top, right, because we need to give priority, right, to create the parent first. All right, initialize the variables, all right, in parent. All right, thereafter, right, we will actually initialize, okay, variables, right, in the child class. And then as usual, you have a getter and setter for the status, and then you have toString. All right, so this one display the content of the student. Next we look at the employee. Okay, employee you have here, right? So again extends person. So over here we have three variables, both actually all of them actually protected, and this is actually is a I will say is an association, right? Okay, between my date. If you look at the my date, and we have three variables, and then we have all this is actually entity class as well, right? So we have getters and setters plus the constructors, and then we have toString. Okay, then we have this my date, date hire. Okay, then you have we need to call this the constructor of the parent. Okay, constructor of the parent, and then initialize getters and setters. All right, that's it. And then once we have done this, then we move to the next level of inheritance: faculty and staff subclasses of employee. So we need to create faculty. Faculty extends employee. Okay, so now the faculty has two um, types of information: office hours, rank, and of course I can make this as a protected. Okay, get rank, getters and setters. Okay, and all this just like an employee. So you find that when it comes to the faculty, right, uh, it will call the immediate parent. The immediate parent for the uh, faculty is employee. The immediate parent for the employee is a person, right? So the faculty, right, has the responsibility to initialize the variables in this parent and also this parent. Okay, so the employee has a responsibility, right, to initialize the variables in the immediate parent, which is a person. The faculty, right, has the responsibility, right, to initialize the variables in the immediate parent employee, right? So now you find that this constructor, right, is like, taking in a lot of parameters, because over here, right, it has to initialize, okay, the person, okay, parent, and also has to take care of the immediate parent as well. So, and on top of that, existing, right, variables, right, that exist in the faculty. So that is why it's too long. Okay, and then super, and then everything, and then toString. And then we'll go to the next one is the staff. All right, so staff also the same. We have the title. Okay, and then it's quite long as well. Okay, staff, and then setters and getters. All right, so once you have constructed all this, right, next we need to look at the enum, right? Okay, so we are creating two enum, right? One is for to take care of the title, and the other one is the status. Okay, so basically the enum, right, is useful. All right, is a good practice, all right, to replace, right, the final constants variables, right? So the enum, right, actually came into being, right, to replace, right, constants variables using final keyword, right? Sometimes you have a lot of constants variables, right? Then you start writing here, right, you have the codes like multiple times final, 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 and so on, right? So in order to have better way, right, to write to replace those codes, right, they came up with this idea enum, right? So over here, right, enum is a collection of variables, and any variables that you find in the enum, right, they are actually public, static, and final. Okay, so over here, status. Okay, enum actually can be, you can also have a constructor, right? So technically, right, every constant in the enum, right, is an object, right? So it's if you are not using this way, all right, let's say you only have constants, right? Okay, all the way you only have constants here, right? So if you have five constants, means you have five objects, and these five objects will be created implicitly, right, behind the scene, right? So right now we are actually creating enum, right, in a different way, where we will have constructor, but this constructor, right, cannot be called by outsider. It's made private, all right, and this can be called only within this enum. All right, I'll say enum is a special class. All right, so declaring private variable for getting values, I have one variable. Okay, and this variable, right, is used in this method, right? So this method is used to get the constants. All right, so that is why I have this method. This constructor, right, is to create an object for each constant. All right, Okay, so you have one method to retrieve, I will say that retrieve the constant, and you have one method to create an object for each constant. All right. So when you look at here, freshman one, right, this will correspond to this, right? Okay, integer action, right? So it takes in one parameter. So this is like calling the constructor of this, right? Status. Okay, this one will call this constructor will pass the other value, okay, 2 and so on. So if here you have like one comma another parameter, then you need to have one more, so it should be matching lah. All right, okay, with this. Right, so once we have done all this, okay, next we will look at the rank. Okay, rank also the same, one parameter. Okay, ranking. Okay, so once you have done this, next with the driver, okay, to test. Okay, so we can create a new staff, okay, and then we can print out, okay, and then we can create a faculty, and then we can print out. So you find that this one is calling automatically, will call the toString. This one will call automatically toString, right? Okay, dot toString. So each object, right, will give you a different information. Okay, so you call it invokes the toString methods, right? So I can create another object of person, and then I can just put, I can call the toString, but different objects will display different things. Okay, so if you look at the faculty, right, we can pass like this rank values. So this rank is actually referring to the annum, the name of the annum, this one, and values, right? So you will return kind of like array, and then you need to specify the array, right? Okay, I will say that this one will have 1 2 3 up to 5 4, right? So you have an array of like 4 boxes, and you need to mention, right? Okay, so you can imagine this, each constant, right, is associated with an object, which means that an object will be created for each constant, right? So you need to, and all these objects will be stored in an array, and then we need to um, provide information here, right, which box that you're interested to work with, right? So values, okay, an array, and then I'm targeting here 1, okay, and then get action, that's it, right? So this will give you the value actually. All right, okay, so value 1 2 or 3 and so on. Okay, so that is how we create the entire an inheritance, okay, based on this requirements, okay, based on these requirements, right? So generally we need to know, okay, extents, okay, how to use extents, and which class supposed to be the parent, which class supposed to be the child, and then we just need to know, right, the state for each class, right, the kind of information that we need to store, right? Okay, so for the task 2, I advise you, right, to attempt this by yourself. Okay, so over here, right, we we have a lot of requirements here, right? Probably we need to apply, okay, I'll call it has a relationship, okay, and if you look at here, we need to create some objects and so on. All right, so I guess this will be a good experience for you, right, to attempt the task 2. All right, okay, so I'll see you then, catch up with you.